My name is Jack. I'm 36, a logistics officer in the U.S. Navy. I've served for more than 12 years, coordinating supplies for major military operations around the world. With a salary of about $110,000 a year, my wife and I live comfortably, even though I'm often away for 6 to 8 months on each deployment. My wife, Hannah, just turned 38. She teaches math at a high school in San Diego. Her income is roughly $50,000 a year, yet she's never complained about money. We've known each other for over a decade, but have been married only 6 years. We both want children, but because I'm gone so often, Hannah doesn't want to raise them alone. She says we should wait until I can transfer to a stable desk position in the States. Hannah and I first met at a mutual friend's graduation in 2013. I'd already been in the Navy for a few years, and she'd just finished her master's in education. From the first conversation, I sensed she was different. Hannah is smart, independent, and understands a military family's hardships. Her father served more than 20 years. The early years after our wedding were genuinely happy. Whenever I shipped out, Hannah encouraged me, writing letters and sending small gifts that felt like home. When I came back, she always greeted me with a bright smile and dinners she'd cooked herself. On leave, we often traveled and explored new places. Last year, I bought her a 3-bedroom house in a quiet neighborhood near her school. We never had to worry about finances or daily stress. But the marriage I thought was rock solid started to crack about 6 months ago. Hannah changed noticeably. She told me she'd joined a new yoga class and met new friends. At first, I thought that was good. I worried she'd be lonely while I was gone. Gradually, though, she spent more time with this group, mostly single women and recent divorcees. She began posting pictures of fancy dinners and outings at places we used to visit together. What worried me most was how much she focused on her appearance. She frequently bought expensive dresses, went to a high-end salon, and even hired a personal trainer, none of it cheap. I told myself she was simply treating herself while I was away and tried not to overthink. Then, during one of our regular online dates, right after I'd returned to the ship from a tough day of training, Hannah suddenly said, "Jack, I need to talk, seriously." Still cheerful, I hadn't noticed the tension in her voice. "Sure, what's so serious?" She looked straight at the screen, her face completely solemn. "I want us to open the marriage." I froze, thinking I'd misheard. "What did you just say?" She sighed, more decisive. "I want the freedom to see other people when you're gone. You know I can't handle being lonely for 6 or 7 months at a time. I can't keep living like this." I let out a bitter laugh. It felt like I'd been punched. "Hannah, do you realize what you're saying? We've been together over 10 years. Why now?" She stayed cold, firm. "I've thought it through. I'm not going to argue. If you don't agree, I'll do it anyway." My heart froze, but I kept my voice even. "If that's what you choose, fine. Just remember everything has a price." She stared without blinking. "What are you going to do, divorce me?" Swallowing a surge of anger, my tone turned icy even to me. "Go ahead and find out." That night, the call ended without another word. I sat there, surrounded by the vast ocean, suddenly weighed down by something I never imagined would happen. I shut the laptop, yet Hannah's eyes, cold as the Pacific night, still burned in the dark. Amid the ship's engine's drone, memories rewound like an old tape, pulling me back to the early years of marriage, the time I believed could never break. On the day we signed the marriage license, San Diego blazed under honeyed sunlight. Hannah wore a simple white dress, her brown eyes shining like they could light my whole life. Back then, she was my biggest supporter. Whenever I got orders, she'd hug me and whisper, "Your job is to protect the country. Mine is to keep our home warm till you return." I once thought a promise like that could push away any storm. During the first months of deployment, homesickness hit me hard. But every Friday night, Hannah and I had a dinner across the ocean on video. She set her laptop on the dining room table, lit candles, and served steaming pasta. I leaned against the steel bulkhead of the auxiliary command room, slurping a ration cup of noodles, yet still raising a hot mug of coffee to clink cheers with her glass of red on the screen. Sometimes the signal glitched, her face pixelated, But her words stayed clear. I'm right here. That was enough to pull me through long watches beneath salty skies and a crescent moon. Midway through that first cruise, Hannah sent me a care box. Inside were handwritten notes on every candy pack and protein bar, our inside jokes. At the bottom lay a navy blue wool scarf she'd knitted, long enough to wrap twice around my neck. The sergeants crowded around, whistling, "Your wife scores a perfect 10 for romance." I laughed, eyes stinging. 10 months after the wedding, our ship docked in Yokosuka. Hannah flew halfway around the planet, red polka dot suitcase in tow, and leapt into my arms the second she saw me, prompting a round of applause from nearby Japanese sailors. During 3 short Liberty days, we wandered lantern-lit alleys, ate ramen from a street stall, and filmed a promise. When Jack retires, we'll stroll this street hand in hand. No rush. That clip is still my screensaver. After the first tour, I used my promotion bonus as a down payment on a craftsman-style house in suburban La Mesa. 4 bedrooms, a backyard big enough for a hammock and a barbecue pit. On our first walkthrough, Hannah spun like a kid the moment she crossed the threshold. "Bookshelves here, lavender along the fence, and this room," she laughed, touching her flat stomach. "Someday a crib." We hadn't spoken aloud about children, yet in her laughter I saw the future. Once I took a long-term training assignment on the Virginia coast, nearly 2,500 miles from home. Hannah took summer break, drove the Jeep I'd just bought her for 6 days across desert and snowy Colorado passes, just to surprise me outside the barracks, holding a box of homemade waffles. The guys joked I was treated like royalty. I laughed, pretended to check the Jeep but really wiped sweat from her brow so no one saw me get soft. We never let distance become a crack. Every year during my long leave, Hannah planned a healing trip to places she'd dreamed of while I was gone. Year 2 was Florence. We learned to make pizza, laughing as dough stuck to our faces. Year 3 was Banff. I carried Hannah on my shoulders through the snow, her scream echoing to the Rockies. In our memory album, I captioned the photo of us wrapped in the blue scarf. If there's a heaven, it can't be prettier than this. I covered everything for Hannah. Mortgage payments, a new car every 3 years, tuition for any professional development course she liked. She never touched a bill, only focused on the chalkboard and the small dreams of her students. Friends teased that I spoiled her, but I always felt it still wasn't enough. Yet on last night's watch, she said she wanted an open marriage, like someone hurled concrete through the glass I'd cherished for 6 years. I stood frozen, watching black waves, asking when she'd begun to slip from my grasp. Maybe those rushed flights she arranged, the candlelit video dinners, only exposed the widening void between us. Or the spacious house, purple flower yard, convertible Jeep gave her too much time to realize being alone isn't loneliness. And loneliness can hollow a heart more than we imagine. I don't have the answer. I just know. The prettier the memory, the sharper the betrayal. But the ship still plows forward, and at dawn I must supervise a load of several dozen tons of rations for the next base. I clenched my fist and told myself, "Finish the mission first, Jack. The home front can be settled later." It started 6 months ago, right after a joint exercise in Guam, when I got 10 days leave. The moment I stepped through the door, I saw Hannah in front of the mirror, tying up freshly honey-dyed hair, buzzing with energy. Instead of her usual bear hug, she brushed a quick kiss on my lips. "I'm late for hot yoga. We'll talk tonight, okay?" I hadn't even set down my duffel. That evening, Hannah took me to a new vegan spot with her yoga tribe. I tagged along out of curiosity. At a table of 6, only Pamela still wore a ring. The other 3, Sierra, Chloe, and Jenna, were recently divorced or on a break. They talked non-stop about self-love, detox retreats in Sedona, and unlocking primal energy. I smiled politely, but Hannah's excitement weighed on my heart. After that night, her routine flipped. Every dawn at 5, she slid into neon leggings and drove the Jeep to the studio, where she'd bought a 6-month VIP package with a personal trainer. She sent me mirror selfies, shirt drenched in sweat, captioned, "Reborn." I was glad she cared about health, but noticed a spike on the credit card. $200 running shoes, the newest smartwatch, pricey Instagram fat burn pre-workouts, I nudged. Don't buy every ad, keep an emergency fund. Hannah laughed, tossed her hair. You focus on duty. I've got this. One Sunday evening I was grilling in the yard when she came home late, jacket smelling of almond milk and cinnamon. I asked what time yoga ended. She waved it off. We meditated longer, don't be paranoid. She set down a box of sugar-free pastries, told me to detox. The pastry tasted like cardboard, but harder to swallow was the phone lighting up with messages. Mason PT. I'm no control freak, yet instincts kicked in. Mason Patterson, 33, ex-Trek athlete, now a private trainer at the studio. Days later, Hannah boasted Mason had tweaked her program so she'd hit target body in 90 days. I joked, back in the engine room, no one guaranteed 90 days. She laughed, but her eyes flashed challenge. The next month she overhauled her wardrobe. The soft floral dresses vanished, replaced by body-hugging outfits, crop tops, crimson heels. I quipped, catwalk at school? She shot back, it's called feminine energy. Sierra's advice. Suddenly every sentence carried Sierra says. Sierra says, Chloe's experience. One night on midwatch, neighbor Joe texted, your wife's Jeep just left at midnight, everything okay? I typed probably forgot something, though my heart pounded. Next morning on FaceTime, Hannah angled the camera close so only her face showed, background dark. She said she'd risen early for deep meditation. Didn't want distractions. I asked, sleep okay? She replied curtly, fine. I took leave again in early spring. On day one, Hannah announced she had to lead the yoga group on a weekend hike and had booked a cabin on Mount Palomar. I offered to join, she hesitated, then claimed it was women only. I didn't press, but doubt simmered. On Saturday night, the group live-streamed their campfire. I noticed the frame shake, briefly showing a man's silhouette in the background. The live ended abruptly. I texted her. Hannah called back, wind in the phone. You imagined it, just us girls out here. She laughed loud, but worry hid in her eyes. In April, our joint account was suddenly short by more than $5,000. A charge for a holistic transformation package at a Malibu beach resort. Note, early bird double room. I printed the statement and left it on the dining table. Hannah saw it that night and froze. It's an investment in my health. I asked who was sharing the room. She folded the statement, voice cold. Trish, my head yoga instructor. Stop prying. Arguing would make it worse, so I nodded. Late that night, while Hannah slept, I stepped into the yard. A crescent moon hung over the eucalyptus, lavender scent stirring old joys. From the living room, her phone kept pinging, steady, endless. I didn't touch it. I just counted. 1, 2, 3, almost non-stop. The day I shipped out for an 8-month tour, Hannah saw me off at the airport, looking completely different. Black pencil dress, bright red lipstick, a woody perfume she'd never worn. She hugged me forever, whispering, "Stay safe. I'll be strong." I wanted to ask, how strong, but held back. Clearing security, I turned. She wasn't crying. She waved and smiled, yet the gentleness I knew was cracked. After that, her messages thinned. On video calls, she was always busy with a late class or online tutoring. Each time she answered, the light was dim and distant music played. I told myself, don't become the paranoid husband. Then, one night in mid-Pacific, Hannah sent a photo. In the gym mirror, sports bra, sharply cut abs. Caption, progress. Mason says I'm at 12% body fat, followed by a winking emoji. My guts twisted. Moments later, Mason Patterson sent me a friend request with a note. Bro, your wife is killing it at the gym, you must be proud. His feed was all flexing pics, hashtags about no man needed. I didn't reply. My ears rang like the ship had hit a whirlpool. Holding a dark coffee, feeling the ship's vibration, doubt piled into a solid mass. 6 months of drip changes had become a brewing storm. I sensed the real squall had just edged over the horizon. I locked my cabin door, dimmed the light, set the laptop on its metal shelf. Pacific satellite link flickered, but Hannah's face soon appeared. Honey hair in a bun, cheeks flushed as if from a run. I meant to tell her the crew had landed a 4-foot swordfish, but she cut in. "Jack, we need a serious talk." I leaned back, bad feeling rising. "I'm listening." Hannah drew a breath, stared into the webcam. "I think, we should open our marriage." The words dropped into the tiny cabin, echoing with engine noise. I swallowed. "Are you joking?" "No. I've thought about this for months." She scooted closer, voice shaky yet firm. "You're at sea 6-7 months. I'm alone. I have needs, Jack. I feel myself aging every day while I wait." I forced a smile. "We're waiting until I transfer to East Coast shore duty. Just a few more years." "A few years?" She let out a dry laugh. "Do you know what hormones do to a woman after 40? I'm only 38, but I feel time sliding off my skin. I want to live fully, not curl up in a cold bed counting 300 nights." Eyes closed a beat, I chose my words. "I understand loneliness. But marriage isn't a cafe. You don't open and close at whim." "I'm not closing," head high. "I'll keep you, the man I love, yet meet others when you're gone." Purely physical. When you're home, they vanish. Like renting storage space. Temporary, I said bitterly. Silence, then blunt honesty. "Jack, I'll do it whether you agree or not. A few nameless flings might ease the emptiness. I refuse to sneak. I choose honesty." "Honesty?" My knuckles went white. "Honesty includes respect. You're changing the rules, alone." Tears welled, but she held ground. "I'm not strong enough to wait longer. I need the right to breathe." A wave slammed. The screen shook. Outside the porthole was black sea, broken stars. Memories, webcam, dinners, the blue scarf, our Florence vow, shattered like glass. "What if I say no?" I asked, voice low. "I'll proceed. I just want you informed so it's not cheating." I twitched a smile. "Got logistics? Splitting costs? Health risks? Should I send my port schedule so you can book dates?" She faltered, then dodged. "I'll handle finances, and you, if you meet someone in port, I won't stop you." "Generous," I sneered, "but I honor my vows." "Your vows cage me." She wiped tears. "I'm not that simple teacher anymore. I've awakened to my body." Air whirred through the vent. Almost a whisper, I pleaded. "Hannah, think again. 6 years of marriage isn't worth risking for quick affairs." "I've thought too long," she said. "Don't try to sway me." I sighed, a fresh crack in my heart. "Your choice, your consequences. I won't fund this liberation." "Keep your money," she snapped. "I don't need support to live my truth." "But you still need the roof, the Jeep, the resort membership, everything I pay for." I steadied my anger. "Walk this path, and tomorrow you pay yourself." She hesitated, eyes wavering yet stubborn. "I'll manage." I leaned closer to the camera. "I'm at sea. I can't argue longer. Remember, love isn't a pizza you slice in half. It's all or nothing." "I still love you," she blurted. "This is just a physical solution." "Solution?" I let out a dry laugh. "You talk like a doctor writing a prescription." She fell silent. I hit end. Before the screen went black, I saw a tear slide down her cheek. Unsure if for me or the freedom she'd chosen. Afterward, I climbed the deck, inhaled the brine, head spinning. The radio played a country song about a wife waiting on a porch. The lyrics tasted bitter. I wondered, had years of easy money blurred Hannah's line between love and security? Or did the long absences bore holes in the boat we rowed together? I wanted to smash the steel railing, but I just stood still. A junior officer walked by and saluted. "Sir, everything okay?" I nodded vaguely, hiding my red eyes behind the safety net's shadow. That night, I opened the expense spreadsheet, locked the secondary cards, and moved my entire monthly paycheck to a new account. I emailed my lawyer in San Diego. Need urgent advice on asset division. After hitting send, I sat quiet, the blinking cursor reminding me our shared story had turned a page. No more us, only me and her, on opposite spiritual oceans that would never meet again. Back in my cabin, hands shaking with anger, the logistics brain that once saved an ammo depot in a storm forced itself into battle mode. I opened the personal safe, grabbed the security token, and logged into the military bank's intranet. 3 clicks. Hannah's access to the joint account downgraded to view only. 3 more. The entire $18,300 paycheck moved to a separate account I'd opened last week. Next were the supplemental credit cards. I canceled the Amex she'd used for the holistic transformation package and the Visa cashback she'd swiped at the hair salon. The system emailed success notices. I forwarded them to family lawyer Thomas Reed with the subject line, "Urgent, Divorce Counsel, Military Assets." Thomas replied in 10 minutes. A Pacific Night record. Received. When you dock in Hawaii, come to my office. Keep every chat log, statement, and photo. Do not argue with her any further. His last advice hit the pulsing vein. I opened my contacts, picked Hannah, the smiling icon of us in Banff, and tapped mute notifications. I didn't block her yet, but set it to permanent silence. Any messages would fall into a black hole. The next day, Colonel Whitaker summoned me. "Jack, you looked rattled last night. Need the deployment counselor?" I stood at attention, answered crisply, "Sir, I'm in control." The old man saw through me, patted my shoulder. "Remember, the longest voyage isn't out there. It's in your head." His words made me realize I was stepping into a mapless war, where the enemy wore the face that once felt like home. For the next 3 days I stayed dizzy-buzzy, inventorying refrigerated containers, signing fuel logs, running a fire drill exercise. I thought work would numb me, yet at night the image of Hannah in a body-hugging dress, her challenging eyes, and the phrase, "open marriage," stabbed like metal shards. To keep sane, I started a journal. Not a whining diary, but an intel report. Call timestamps, dialogue excerpts, suspicious transactions, screenshots of Mason PT's messages. I packed everything into an encrypted folder titled Blue_Horizon, the Blue Horizon, where I'd dock free. A week later, we moored at Pearl Harbor to refuel. As soon as I hit the pier, I borrowed the liaison officer's car and sped to Honolulu. Thomas's office sat on the 6th floor of a glass building overlooking the sea. In a white shirt, he shook my hand firmly. "I'll protect you like a skipper guards his ship." Thomas reviewed each statement, marking Malibu Resort room share in red. He frowned. "We can argue for unequal distribution. Those expenses happened while effectively separated." I asked point blank, "Chance of keeping the house my mom invested in?" "Hi. You bought it pre-marriage, deed solely in your name." I exhaled, but Thomas splashed cold water. "She may request temporary spousal support. California courts lean toward the lower earner, especially if she claims you suddenly cut funds." I rubbed my temples. Didn't think generosity could turn into shackles. Thomas tapped the stack. "We'll counter with proof of the outside relationship. Adultery isn't punished, but using joint funds on a lover weakens her case." Meeting over, I signed power of attorney for him to file as soon as the ship reached San Diego in 3 months. On the drive back, the ocean blazed blue, yet inside I felt a glacier cracking. Back on board, I emailed the family group. "I'm okay. Please keep this quiet. Don't talk to Hannah if she asks." Mom replied instantly, "I'm always here." Dad says a man who stands firm is strong. I bit my lip, recalling Dad's lesson. Morals are a compass. 1 degree off at sea, and you'll hit the wrong shore. That night, I opened our wedding album, pausing on Hannah's radiant smile beneath bougainvillea. I saved the file to an external drive, then deleted it from the laptop. Not to forget, but to stop the sting. True turbulence hit the next morning. Comms reported, "Sir, your wife's on the line, says it's urgent." I growled, "Route to admin and record." Moments later, Hannah's voice boomed from the speaker. "Jack, the card's frozen. I can't pay my students' fees. How long will you torture me?" I answered briefly, "You chose independence," then hung up. Crewmen glanced but said nothing. That afternoon, my military Facebook inbox lit with 10 messages from Hannah. Tearful selfies, a vague status, "Some people abandon you when you need them most." I blocked the account. Hours later, she used an alt ID, firing, "Don't forget you're at sea." I still home, holding the assets. I ignored her, simply forwarded the note to. Night fell. I climbed the observation deck, salt wind stinging my face. Below, waves thumped the hull like war drums. I muttered, "Years protecting supply lines. Now I must guard my heart." Closing my eyes, I pictured walking out of court, signing the final paper, breathing air free of that spicy wood perfume. Before leaving the deck, I texted Thomas, "Proceed without mercy. I'll cover all costs." I knew from that moment, Hannah and I stood on opposite sides of the battlefield, and this war, I wouldn't retreat even half a nautical mile. Thomas's message saying the emergency divorce petition is filed popped up just as the ship's internet stabilized. Curious, I opened Instagram. Hannah's newest posts slammed onto my feed. First scene, the rooftop bar at the Mondrian, Los Angeles, her hand tilting a martini, a silk dress slit high, purple lights tinting her tanned skin. At the frame's edge, a man's arm holding a corkscrew. Only the sporty watch shows, his face is cropped out. Caption, "Friday's never lonely, self-love sunset vibes." Scrolling, I saw Hannah in business class, legs on the opposite seat, window reflecting pink clouds. Text, "A new adventure begins." Next stories flashed the JFK logo, then St. Barth. She filmed herself driving a convertible Jeep along a Caribbean coast road, wind whipping her honey hair, a tattooed compass shoulder. Face hidden, just in view. Upbeat pop played about freedom is everything. 48 hours later, Hannah posted a healing retreat album at a windswept limestone resort. She lounged in a rocker facing the sea, legs crossed, raising a glass of Dom Perignon. Hashtags, "Strong Women, Own Your Life." I tapped comments. The yoga circle cheered with flame, heart, and wing emojis. A few of her school colleagues asked, "Who's the lucky travel buddy?" Hannah replied vaguely, "Someone important who helps me see my worth." Meanwhile, our joint savings, the side fund for house repairs, was down by $17,000 in just 15 days. I emailed the bank to freeze it until court. Thomas wrote back, "Do it now, but whatever she pulled may be hard to recover. Save every receipt for offsets." A few days later, I got a video from my sister-in-law Jenna. "You need to see this." Play Hannah entering a La Jolla seafood place, arm hooked around a lanky brunette guy, a bright silver chain on his neck. She smiled at the host, unaware Jenna sat in a far corner. Jenna kept filming as they sat by the window, holding hands over an Italian wine bottle. I swallowed hard, equal parts angry and amused. Hannah once said she hated men's necklaces because they looked flashy. That night, Hannah dropped another story. A mud therapy spa, bubble tub rimmed with petals. A Prosecco flute next to a whiskey glass, 2 curly straws. I set my phone on the metal table, suddenly numb. She was burning dollars for fleeting thrills. The same bills I'd earned in churning seas. Next noon, the high school emailed our family inbox. "Please note employee Hannah Miller has taken a 3-month unpaid leave for personal reasons." I gave a bitter laugh. She'd left chalkboard life to be a luxury nomad. Unpaid leave also ends the district-paid health insurance. She probably had no clue. That evening, Hannah live-streamed beside a private villa pool. LED lights shifted blue-violet. A DJ pounded house music. She danced, drinks sloshing. Comments flew. You're on fire. Body goals. I zoomed the far corner. Mason Patterson, shirtless, flexing, waving before Hannah turned the camera away. My chest tightened. The suspicion of months was now crystal. After the live, Hannah posted a black belt quote, "Live, don't simply exist." Same slogan Mason's boot camp uses. I grinned, smiled, screenshot, sent Thomas. Possible affair with PT. Note use of joint funds on lover. A week passed. Her feed was packed with paraplane flights, jet ski rides, $1,000 omakase sushi. In every shot, the mystery man was cropped, turned, or hidden by a cocktail. But the tanned arm with the compass tattoo reappeared. Enough ID without a face. Yet the sparkle spree fizzled like fireworks. My banking app, set to alert every move before the freeze, showed Hannah's personal balance drop from $41,000 to $12,800 in 40 days. Biggest charge, Seminyak luxury retreat, $9,550. She'd hopped to Bali. 15 minutes later, her visa was declined at a jewelry boutique. She texted me instantly, "Did you lock another card?" I didn't reply. Instead, I emailed Thomas. "Her personal cash is drying up. Prep for a support demand." He answered, "We'll ask the court for a spending cap. She must justify essentials." The hull vibrated, a tropical storm brewing. Cloud spirals filled the radar window, and I saw my life echo nature's cycle. Hannah spinning through savings like a whirlwind, bound to stall. Me gripping the helm, holding course through gray foam. Still, a fleeting memory surfaced, Hannah nudging me in Banff. Snowy peaks melt, but our love never will. The peaks had melted, leaving shards of ice that stung the eyes. Yet from that frost, I learned some things must thaw completely before dawn can light clear water. The ship berthed in San Diego at first light. I inhaled the familiar Pacific fuel mix, then climbed into the Ford Ranger where my brother Ben waited. We skipped the Craftsman House. I couldn't stand under its roof. Ben drove straight to a Mission Valley high-rise where he'd put a deposit on a 2-bed, 16th floor, balcony facing the curving San Diego River. Opening the door, I found a pale gray sofa and a wooden world map Jenna had hung. On the kitchen counter sat a card. "Welcome back to square one, Jack." My throat clenched. The apartment was smaller than the old house, but no corner was crammed with Hannah's memories. What I needed now was space. Just enough air to breathe. That same afternoon, everyone gathered at Ben's place. My parents, Jenna, and a few retired buddies. I told everything, hiding nothing, from the open marriage demand to Hannah's island photos flaunting her mystery man. Mom put a hand on my shoulder, eyes red but voice firm. No woman deserves sympathy after wrecking her own home. Dad, a Navy vet, just nodded. In battle, when your teammate abandons position, you save yourself first. Word spread fast through the North Island spouses chat where Hannah had been active. By the next morning, Sierra, the yoga big sister, was booted for posting pool party shots with Hannah and Mason. Military wives, sick of deployment side flings, cut ties. One DM'd me, "We're skipping her luncheon, stay strong." Monday, I wore service khakis to Thomas Reed's office and signed the thick packet. On the cover, Miller v. Miller, petition for dissolution of marriage. Thomas highlighted, temporary freeze on joint assets. Sole claim to the house, since the down payment predated the marriage. Request that Hannah assume 100% of the new credit card debt for extramarital spending. She'll push back hard, he said. But the photos, statements, and neighbor testimony are solid. I reviewed the cost estimate. Nodded. Proceed. My turn for optics. Friday night, the base held its annual Night of Valor gala at the Manchester Grand Hyatt. I donned a fitted tux, black tie, ready for the flashes. My closest female colleague, Lieutenant Amelia Brooks, an aerospace engineer and two-time excellence medalist, offered to accompany me. Tall, bobbed brown hair, confident, heads turned. We posed before the seaplane logo, champagne glasses clinking. When scholarships were awarded to fallen sailors' kids, Amelia handed over the $10,000 check, and I delivered thanks on stage. The base photographer sent high-res shots that night. I'd posted one of us beaming, caption, "Proud to serve alongside strong women. Valor Night, respect." Within 30 minutes, Hannah texted the number I hadn't blocked yet. "Who's that? Just saw your pic with her. Don't tell me you're dating behind my back." I laid the phone down and kept toasting with Amelia and the commanders. Notifications kept flashing. "Jack, can we talk? I miss you. I know I was wrong. I'll end things with Mason." I felt nothing. As the jazz band slid in to Fly Me to the Moon, Amelia asked, "You good, Jack?" I smiled. Never stronger. Then invited her to the dance floor. No agenda, just letting the swing wash bitterness away. By dawn I was home, faced a barrage of new messages, Hannah crying, a clip of her outside my now empty house, pleading, "I messed up. Give me a chance." I dropped everything into the blue_Horizon folder for Thomas. Over the next 2 days, Hannah called my parents claiming breakdown. Mom calmly said, "You and Jack can resolve this in court." She tried Jenna, hoping for a bridge. Jenna cut her off. "We were friends, but you betrayed my brother. So, we're done." Meanwhile, the spouses network unfollowed Hannah en masse. Military charity events struck her from guest lists. A logistics officer texted. She asked for Marine Ball tickets. We declined. The strong women facade cracked without community support. One night I stood on my Mission Valley balcony. Fireworks burst over Petco Park. The Padres had won. The glow hit my bourbon. The oak scent mixed with distant cheers. Oddly, I felt more at peace than in any recent night. Beside Hannah. The phone vibrated. Email. From Tomaz. Temporary hearing set for 90 days. She's asking to reconcile, but we maintain our terms. I typed, "No change," and locked the screen. Below, red-white headlights flowed like a taut ribbon. I realized my life had shifted lanes. This lane might be lonely, but at least I held the wheel, no longer handing it to someone who bailed when storms hit. I sipped bourbon, the smoky bite spreading, and faintly heard Pacific waves miles away, whispering, "Jack, the storm has passed. Now you choose the wind." 3 weeks after the gala, Hannah vanished from every glittery frame. Her Instagram, once candles and champagne foam, fell strangely silent. Not voluntary darkness, I figured, but a bank account gone dark. First word came from Sierra, the old yoga queen, who called Jenna out of the blue to apologize for defending Hannah. Their weekend brunch had been just her, Chloe, and one wilted salad. No one wanted to split a $200 bill. Hannah texted the group, "Handling some financial stuff, rain check." Translation, she couldn't afford the Ocean View table. Days later, the repo company phoned me. BMW X4 paperwork still had my name. "You're 2 payments behind." I laughed. "Call the primary driver. She's independent, remember?" That afternoon, a former neighbor sent a video. A tow truck hauling the white BMW from the driveway while a disheveled Hannah begged the driver. Posted to the neighborhood forum within an hour, it drew a flood of sad face icons and comments. "Hard to smash your own rice bowl." I forwarded the clip to Thomas. He added, "Proof her finances are tanking. Good for us." I felt no glee, only emptiness. The woman who once laughed behind a steering wheel now stood in dusty, broken heels. Then came the officers' functions. Hannah first emailed, calling herself former Mrs. Lieutenant Miller, asking for logistics gala tickets. The committee replied politely, "The event is invite only for couples. She's not on the list." She begged Colonel Darnell's wife, once a close charity partner. Mrs. Darnell sent a single line, "I stand with Jack." From then on, Hannah's only door into the officer circle shut tight. A coworker told me the night of the gala. Hannah showed up in a blazing red gown, but security had to ask her to leave. Mason stood beside her, borrowed suit still creased, scowling yet forced to guide her out. 2 hours later, Mason's social media live-streamed a cheap bar in the Gaslamp Quarter. Green lights, thumping beats, Hannah slamming a tequila like a stone. Chat filled with, "So sad, you okay?" I didn't watch further. Next month, Thomas sent the statement Hannah filed with the court. Balance under $4,000, of which $3,200 was a cash advance on a card charging 22% interest. He flagged it. She can't afford counsel, may ask the court for aid. Right on cue, Tuesday morning, Hannah emailed me and the attorneys. My teacher's salary is $51,000 a year. After tax, not even $3,400 a month. I request Jack reinstate a basic living allowance of $2,000 a month so neither of us is harmed. Thomas replied to me. My client declines. Ms. Miller chose this path. The court will decide. That afternoon, Hannah called my mother, sobbing she'd been pushed to the edge. Mom's voice was cool. No one pushed you. You dug the hole. Now climb out yourself. That night, Hannah posted a black screen story. What breaks the heart isn't poverty. It's ingratitude. But applause had vanished. Views dropped to a few dozen. Next, an email from luxury auction house, The Real Clutch. We confirm Hannah Miller consigned 12 items. 3 Chanel bags, 2 Cartier watches, 7 pairs of Louboutins. I laughed bitterly. This her empowered lifestyle? Selling off memories bought with my direct deposit dollars. The fiasco became legend among military spouses. Yoga teacher dumps husband for freedom, ends up asking for support. Every Thursday, the tale surfaced at the base cafe as a cautionary lesson. A Military Spouse Stories podcast even invited Jenna, anonymously, to discuss deployment crush risks. Jenna declined, but the warning spread. Don't toy with fidelity. The price is steep. Cut off from perks, Hannah returned to school. Now she drove a leased 2012 Mazda 3, no more Starbucks courier for colleagues. HR emailed, reminding her to finish insurance paperwork 30 days late. In class, students whispered that the Insta-famous teacher deleted all her pics. Those rumors, passed to me by a buddy's kid, were like pebbles on my silent lake. Ripples, but no plunge. One night, Hannah stood at my Mission Valley door. I came home from PT, found her clutching a thin coat, eyes bruised. The BMW gone. Mason vanished when money ran out. She whispered, "Can we talk?" "I'm not here for cash, just..." To say I was wrong, I answered flatly, "All communication goes through lawyers," swiped my key, let the door close. I heard a muffled sob but didn't reopen. Compassion has no place in divorce files. Inside, city lights glowed on the wooden world map, illuminating finely etched borders. I laid a hand on the Pacific, counting every nautical mile traveled. Hurricane Hannah had battered, yet the Jack ship still floated. I knew when court day came, the old anchor would be cut, letting that vessel head straight for sunrise. San Diego Superior Court set the preliminary hearing for a cloudy Monday. I wore a dark navy suit, stood with Thomas at the plaintiff's table. Across from us, Hannah sat with a hastily hired gray-haired lawyer nicknamed the Delay Master. He immediately sought a psychologist's report. My client is in crisis, not ready for major decisions. Judge Hartley, Asian American, voice hard as deck steel. Dismissed it. The March 17 messages Ms. Miller sent her husband show clear intent to open the marriage. No coercion. We proceed. Hannah's attorney pivoted to finances. She was economically dependent and had lost sudden support because I froze accounts. Calmly, Thomas submitted statements. 5-star hotel bills, business class tickets, champagne tabs. All after Hannah demanded freedom. Plus photos of Mason's arm around her, captioned, "Body goals." 12% fat. The gallery murmured. Hartley tapped the gavel. Extravagant spending under the banner of self-reliance. Temporary support request denied. Hannah lowered her head. Her lawyer sipped water. Sweat beading. The next step was property. The Craftsman house, now worth about $960,000, was in my name alone, but marital funds had paid almost a third of the mortgage. Thomas proposed. Sell the house and split the post-marriage equity 70-30, since I covered the principal and all maintenance. Hannah's side objected. The house is our shared memory center. Seizing the moment, Thomas put up Hannah's pool party story. Mason raising a cocktail in that very yard. The judge glanced over and noted, "Evidence of marital property used for an extramarital relationship. Preliminary ruling. The house must be auctioned within 60 days. Remaining mortgage interest deducted. The balance split. 65% to me, 35% to Hannah." Hearing the numbers, Hannah burst into tears. The roughly $200,000 she'd get wouldn't buy out my share, let alone a down payment, anywhere in San Diego. Her lawyer whispered, but Hartley had already signed. As for the car, the BMW had been repossessed. I agreed to wipe the leftover debt on condition she made no further claims. Hannah nodded. Without that, the penalty interest would crush her teacher's salary for years. At the second hearing, Hannah's attorney played the emotion card, projecting our wedding album, me wrapping the blue scarf around her neck. He argued the marriage wasn't irretrievable because feelings remained. I gripped the chair, but Thomas merely smiled and opened the encrypted blue_o Razan folder, reading Hannah's open door texts and showing her pool livestream with Mason 4 months later. Judge Hartley asked, "Do you deny these messages?" Hannah shook her head, tears streaming. After a pause, the judge ruled, "Reconciliation efforts are one-sided and insufficient. Divorce is appropriate to stabilize both parties' lives." Seeing the field collapse, Hannah's lawyer tried damage control, asking the court to let her keep handbags and jewelry for their sentimental value. Thomas was firm. "Liquid assets. We request auction to offset joint debt." Hartley agreed. Hannah pressed her lips together as though swallowing salt. After the final session, the San Diego sun blazed. Hannah stood apart, clutching a slim folder. Only a few financial orders. I held a thick stack, yet the weight on my shoulders felt lighter. She hurried over, eyes red, voice shaking. "Jack, can't we work out something else? At least keep the house?" "I've lost everything." I breathed deep, courteous. "We had time to negotiate. You know this outcome is as fair as it gets." "Fair?" She gave a pained smile. "You took nearly everything. Where am I supposed to live?" "Anywhere you choose, but not the place you broke." I nodded goodbye and walked off. The sun glared, but my stride stayed straight. A month later, the Craftsman hit Redfin and took 4 days to get an offer $30,000 over list. I signed at the broker's office, took one last look at the pale brick walls and the lavender Hannah had let die. Inside, the kitchen, where we laughed over a burnt pizza, echoed only with hammer blows. My share paid off the rest of my student loans and funded a Navy reservoir modernization investment I'd been eyeing. Hannah, Thomas told me, moved into a studio near her school. Even after selling most of her jewelry, she still hadn't cleared that 22% card. I felt no joy at her struggle, no sorrow over the dream house. Only a quiet clarity filled the space. Justice isn't a loud gavel. It's the straight line that emerges after a mess of crooked ones. And on that new line, I vowed no one would stride beside me, only to veer off and leave me in a whirlpool again. I authorized the last transfer to the broker, then leaned on my Mission Valley balcony as the moving truck rolled off with the final boxes from the Craftsman. Strangely, instead of regret, I felt a pristine blank inside. Like someone hit refresh after years of overload. After taxes and loans, I routed 40% to my retirement fund, 30% into long-term ETFs, and used the rest to upgrade the apartment. Compact speakers, a walnut desk, 2 vintage Navy posters. Nothing flashy. Each piece just a reminder I'm running the game, not a spectator in someone else's. Friday night, Ben dragged me to a North Park craft beer spot. Over live guitar, I laid out my plan. Apply for a West Coast Logistics Command desk job after 3 more sales. Still serving but less time at sea. Ben squinted. Settling down? Maybe marrying again? I laughed. Not marriage. Stability. I need a harbor for my shaky memories, not an anchor on someone new just yet. Saturday dawn, I jogged the bayfront, logged the run on Strava Public. Sunrise photo, sweat shining on a gray tee, caption, new chapter, new pace. Comments locked except followers, which surely included Hannah's burner. She can watch. Let her see happiness is simple and expensive to lose. I posted a few more shots, a family barbecue, weekend kayaking with officer friends, a model ship workshop at the military hospital, no romantic hints, just calm smiles and open arms of comrades. A buddy teased, "You're becoming Mr. Inspiration." I shrugged. If so, I hope it's live straight, not burn cash till you're lost. Sometimes Amelia pings for lunch. I accept, but always a cafe near base. 45-minute cap. She senses the boundary. We chat, helicopter engines, carbon fiber recycling, then part with a crisp salute. My heart isn't ready to seat anyone in the gap. The crack just closed over. Professional friendship is the safe zone. In August, I enrolled in a rescue diver course. I'm used to leaping off tanker bows, yet free descending 60 feet off La Jolla still tightened my chest. Surfacing, tasting salt air, I realized. Down in that cold hush, everyday noise disappears, only two beats remain, your heart and your bubbles. Just like the moment I let go of the past. Still, crystal clear. That night I opened Instagram's archive, reviewed the photos Hannah once tagged me in. I didn't delete. They live in a vault, evidence of a closed chapter. After a moment I hit hide permanently. The past belongs in memories safe, not in a noisy feed stirring undercurrents. An email from Thomas arrived. The divorce decree has been signed and the hard copy is on its way. Congrats. Everything's finalized. I set the phone on the table, poured a glass of ginger tea, and watched the city glow amber beneath a thin mist. No fireworks, no triumphant soundtrack, just the steady hum of the A/C and my heartbeat. That's all the ceremony freedom needs. I changed my profile picture to a pink-purple sky off a ship's rail, no faces. New bio. Sail forward, seek calm waters. Follower count ticked up. A few co-workers commented, poetic. I replied with an anchor emoji. Outside the chat, I caught myself smiling. Not to prove anything to Hannah, but to believe that 36-year-old Jack can still smile like that 26-year-old lieutenant, only deeper, slower. Sometimes the night breeze carries sea salt through the window, ushering memories back. Hannah wrapping the blue scarf in Chiliocoska, Hannah's honey hair shaking with laughter on Banff's slopes. I don't chase them away. I remind myself beautiful memories aren't at fault. Choices are. Each time, I shut the window, lay a finger on the wooden map, and tap a new course. Sydney, Lisbon, maybe Cape Town. Then ask, after I finish this West Coast tour, which port first? I'm in no rush to answer, just as I'm in no rush to open my heart again. Everything will come when the wind aligns and the sail fills. For now, my job is to keep the hull sound, the compass true, and my calm intact. So anyone who stumbles onto Jack Miller's page understands, sometimes happiness is simply standing steady at sea, turning your back on the old storm, and watching dawn gild the freshly scrubbed deck. Jack's story shows that in marriage, vows endure only when both cherish them. Once trust shatters, money, status, or regret can't mend it. 6 months apart can reveal true colors. Those chasing glitter soon falter, those holding values rise stronger. Divorce isn't failure, it's a chance to reset the life compass, lay down past burdens, and quietly build a future on integrity and self-reliance. What do you think of Jack's choice and the price Hannah paid? Share your thoughts below. Who was right? Who was wrong? What lesson stands out? And don't forget to hit subscribe and ring the bell so you won't miss the next family story.